Hi everyone, now let's get started with the next session, that is describing a process. So you must be familiar with what description of a process is about. So generally when an action is being done, that becomes a description of a process. So you can define the description of a process as an description of an action. There are generally two types of process description. The first is about the action done by the human beings, and second is about the action which are indirectly done by the human beings. The first case, that is the action done by the human beings. For example, you must have seen the cookery shows and all. So when the process is being taking place, what generally happens is that they introduce what all things they require and how the food has to be made. So that is the action which is being done by the human beings. Then the action which is not done by the human beings or indirectly done by the human beings. For example, if you have some instrument, so how to use that instrument or how that instrument processes, how it works or how its action is about. So that's what description of a process in the case of not by the human beings is about. So what are the problems in describing a process? First is the adaptation of the description to the reader. The thing is that when a process is being described, what happens is that a person who is reading it or listening it might not understand what is being said or what is being written. So that is the first problem of describing a process. Then the thing is that overall organization. The organization of that process should be sequential. The thing is that one after the other, the step-by-step process have to be followed. If the proper step is not followed, you won't understand how to use that instrument or how to make something, or the whole process might go wrong. Then the thing is that use of illustration. The proper illustration have to be used in the case of describing a process. Now move on to the process of description, or a process description is organized as follows. The first is the introduction. When you're describing a process, the introduction have to be given first. For example, the thing is that if you're going to make a coffee, the thing is that what you are going to make and with what all stuffs you are going to make, this is what your introduction should be about. Then the thing is that equipment and materials which are being used for making a coffee, what all you need. The thing is that the coffee powder, milk, whatever stuffs you need, all those have to be mentioned. Then coming to the step-by-step description of the action. What you have to do means after what you have to put the stuffs. So step-by-step description of the action have to be given in detail. Then if you want, you can give a conclusion. Conclusion is not necessary in the case of process description. So these are the general steps that you have to follow while giving a description or a process description. Starting with the first is the introduction, then coming to the equipments and the materials which you require, and then step-by-step description of the action. So hope you understood what a process description is about. Now moving on to our next topic, that is statements of purpose. What statements of purpose is about? You might not be familiar, some must have heard. Generally, statement of purpose is written in the case when you are going for admission to some universities or well-known colleges. You have to present yourself. That's what statement of purpose is about. In that statement of purpose, you will be writing down what you are and why do you prefer to join this college and what your interests are. All this will be mentioned in the statement of purpose. So this is what a statement of purpose is about, generally also mentioned as SOP. It is a reflection of your personality that you portray in front of the admission committee for getting enrolled in universities. So when you're going for an admission, generally a kind of certificate or a description that you carry about yourself, that's what a statement of purpose is about. Now moving on to some tips to prepare a statement of purpose. First is that avoid spelling or grammatical mistakes. When you're presenting a statement of purpose, do avoid spelling and grammatical mistakes. Then the thing is that avoid cliches and repetitive languages. When you're presenting not only the statement of purpose, always keep it different from the others. Do not copy what others have done. Just present yourself, what you are. That should be the right way. Else copying from others is not a very good way, isn't it? So cliches and repetitive languages should be avoided. It would sound boring. That's why it's better to avoid the repetitive languages. Then the third one is about stay away from overly informal language. Overly informal language is in the sense that too much informal language is not good for statement of purpose. The thing is that you are presenting before a university, so the thing is that you should use some formal language. It doesn't mean that the statement of purpose is completely formal, but it is better to avoid more of the informal language. Then the thing is that keep a confident and a positive tone. This is very much important in the case that when you're presenting about yourself, do not give a negative tone. You should be confident and you should present yourself in a positive manner. That's what it means to keep a confident and a positive tone is about. Then you have to remember the following points as well. The first is that when you're presenting a statement of purpose, the general format prescribed is above, that is the font size should be 12 and always prefer Times New Roman font. Then the thing is that 1-inch margin from all the four sides is also necessary. Then the thing is that 1.5 line spacing should also be there. So moving on, you can take a look at what all are the stuffs that you have, or what all are the points that you have to include while you're presenting or writing a statement of purpose. The first is about the introduction, which includes about your self-introduction, your academic interest, then why you're interested in this university. All this should be included. Then your background, what your academic or school background is about. All that, your if you have some experience, professional experience, that can also be included. That's about background is about. Then why this course? If you're applying to a university for a certain course, why do you prefer that course? Why do you have an interest for that course? That have to be mentioned. Then what your career goals is about. Then why this university? This is very important. Why did you choose this university, not the others? That have to be mentioned. Then always give a positive note on the conclusion. Conclusion should be presented very well. So this is how we present a statement of purpose. So giving an example for a statement of purpose, hope you can understand. So this is how a statement of purpose is being presented for the computer science course. Now moving on to our next topic, instructions. What instructions are about? You all must have been familiar with instruction. You all must have got many instructions. So instructions are written or spoken directions for carrying out a procedure or performing a task. The thing is that if a task have to be completed, generally you will get an instruction. For example, the thing is that if you are doing an experiment in your lab, you won't be familiar with what have to be done. So generally your lab assistant or your teacher, your guide will be giving instruction to you what have to be performed and what not have to be performed. Then the thing is that it is also called as instructive writing. The main thing about instruction is it is generally conveyed in active voice and in imperative mode. And when you are writing instruction, it is generally written in a numbered list 1, 2, 3. That numerical format will be followed while writing an instruction. So these are the few examples of instructions. You might get a pictorial instruction, that is using some pictures. The instruction might be given, for example, that wash your hands is represented through pictures. So such kind of instruction can also be given. Else you might get wordings based instruction as well. In that you can note that it has been numbered and 1, 2, 3 has been given. 3 instructions are being given. How to clean a front load washer, that's how to use that front load washer is being given. So these are the 2 examples of instructions. Now moving on to a next topic, that is checklists. What checklists are about? What is checklist? Do you have any idea? Most of them might be knowing what checklist is about. The thing is that when you go for shopping, you might prepare a list, and while shopping, after the shopping is done, you might check whether you have bought those stuffs or not. So that is what generally checklist is about. But in the case of technical writing, it is a slight different, not much difference, but still the thing is that in the case of technical writing, the checklist in technical writing is for planning purpose. So when you are presenting a checklist for a document, if you are writing a document, then the checklist for a document includes, first is about the purpose is to be identified, why that document is presented or for what purpose that document is being made, that have to be identified. Then target audience is clear. Who are the audience for whom you are presenting that document, for whom you are writing that document, that should be made clear. Then headings are on to a point, which means that proper heading should be given. Then spell checking should be done. Then images are added where necessary. Unnecessary images should be avoided. So when you are preparing a document, these are the checklist. So these are the points you have to keep in mind, and you have to always keep in mind that these points are always being undertaken. So this is what checklist is about. Hope you understood what checklists are. So in this session we discussed about describing a process. Then we discussed about statements of purpose. We also saw few examples. Then instructions. We also discussed what instructions are. Then finally checklist. Hope you understood everything. You have no much confusions regarding these topics. Do prepare notes for this and do maintain a note for the presented topics. Thank you.